you had better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I hope he doesn't look just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I'm not little. In fact, I believe I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Wesley. You, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Earnest, my wicked cousin Earnest.
Oh no, you mustn't think that I'm wicked, cousin Cecily. I'm not really wicked at all.
If you are not, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Well, I suppose I have been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mentioned the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that. Though I am sure must have been very pleasant.
Well, it's much pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I'm anxious to miss.
Could you miss it anywhere else but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I know, of course, how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life. But still, I think you had better wait till Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
Your emigrating. He has gone out to buy an outfit.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He's got absolutely no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think people require neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, or Australia.
Oh, the accounts I've received of the next world and Australia are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. Which is why I was rather hoping you might want to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind if I reformed myself this afternoon then?
That is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I am hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you, but might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
Marshal Neil?
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
I don't think you should talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You're the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
A snare that any sensible man would like to be caught in.
I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I should know what to talk to him about. You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. And besides, Throb, I can understand. A woman, Throb, never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear Doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often I've been told not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the women. Maturity can always be depended upon. Rightness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruit. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing?
Mr. Worthing!
Thinking a surprise. We did not expect you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you are well.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
Oh, shameful death and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure?
Dead.
Your brother Earnest, dead.
What? Dead.
What a lesson. I trust you will profit by it.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you are always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Earnest. He had many, many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad in Paris, in fact. Last night I received a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I, myself, am peculiarly susceptible to draughts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind. At the last, you will no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion, joyful or as in the present case, distressing. I appreciate the harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations on days of humiliation and festal days. The last time I delivered it was at the cathedral as part of a charity sermon on behalf for the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop who was present was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
You mentioned christenings, dear doctor. I suppose you're not a Christian. I mean, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in his parish. I've often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But was there any particular infant in whom you had in mind, Mr. Worthing? Your brother, I believe, was unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
Oh, but it is not for any infant, dear doctor. No, I'm very fond of children. The fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But surely Mr. Worthing had been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
Have you any great doubts on the subject?
Of course, I certainly intend to have. I don't know whether you make anything out of it, or you think I'm a little too old now.
Oh, not at all. The sprinkling and indeed the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehensions. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Well, I might trot around 5 if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A case of twins that occurred on what would be more outlying cottages of your own estate.
So I don't see much fun in being christened along with other babies. It would be childish. Would I pass
Admirably, admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude any longer into the house of sorrow. I will merely beg you not to be too much bowed down by grief. What seems to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me to be a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack, oh, I am pleased to see you back. What horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily!
My child, my child!
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? Do look happy. You look as if you had toothache, and I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense! I haven't got a brother!
Don't say that, Uncle Jack. However badly he may have treated you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him, could you? I'll tell him to come out, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
After we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother in the dining room. I don't know what this all means. I think it's perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John, I have come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry for all the trouble that I've caused you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. His coming down here is disgraceful, and he knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is some good in everyone. Earnest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury. Surely there must be so much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of hay.
Bunbury! He's been talking about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or about anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit that the faults were all on my side. I must say that I find Brother John's coldness to me to be peculiarly painful, especially considering this is the first time I have come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Earnest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never.
Then this is the last time I shall do it.
It's pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? We may leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us?
Certainly, Miss Prism. My little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
Algie, you young scoundrel, you must get out of here as soon as possible. I won't allow any Bunburying here.
Mr. Earnest things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that is all right?
What?
Mr. Earnest's luggage, sir. I've placed it in the room next to your own.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. The portmanteau, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
Yes, I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Worthing has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack.
You are Jack.
I've not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the slightest degree.
So I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly... Why don't you go and change? It's childish for you to be in deep mourning for a man who's actually staying in your house as a guest for an entire week.
Certainly not staying in my house as a guest for a week or as anything else. You have got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly couldn't leave you as long as you were in mourning. It would be most unfriendly. If I was in mourning, you'd stay with me, I suppose. I should think it most unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change these clothes?
Yes, if you're not too long about it. I've never seen anybody take so long to dress, and with such little result.
That is better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated.
Your activity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you have got to leave by the 4:05 train, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This Bunburying, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
Well, I think it's been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that's everything. But I must see her before I go, and make arrangements for another Bunbury. There she is.
Oh, I really came back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
No, he's going to order the dog cart for me.
Was he going to take you for a nice drive?
No, he's going to send me away.
There are people whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure equanimity, but even a momentary separation from anyone whom one has just been introduced to is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, please.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you appear to me